Hello, welcome to class. Today we will be learning about clauses. Now, what is a clause? A clause is a group of words containing a subject and a verb. In other texts, you might find it as a clause is a group of words containing a subject and a predicate. That is also correct. But the primary thing you should know is that a clause must have a subject and a verb. Very important. Example, we have John likes hot dogs. So John is the subject, likes is the verb. But if we put all together, we have John as the subject, likes hot dog as the predicate containing the verb likes. We move over to the types of clauses. These are the types of clauses. We have two basic type of clauses, which is the independent or main clause and the dependent or subordinate clause. But the subordinate clause has other subtypes under them, which is the noun clause, adjective clause, and adverb clause. So these are the subtopics under dependent clauses. Now let's look at all the types of clauses one after the other, starting from independent clause. Now, independent clause is a clause that expresses a complete thought and can stand alone as a sentence. An independent clause can always stand on its own. It can make a complete sense, a complete thought. So, examples we have she reads every morning. She reads every morning. And example two, the children are playing in the yard. So these are examples of independent clause. Let's move on to the next type of clause, which is the dependent clause. Dependent clause is a group of words containing a subject and a verb that cannot stand alone as a complete sentence because it doesn't express a complete thought. Yes, just like the independent clause that has a subject and a verb but can make a complete thought, the independent clause can stand on its own. Unlike the dependent clause we're talking about now, they have subject and verb, but they cannot even stand on their own. They cannot make a complete thought. So they need the main or independent clause to make a complete thought. Examples of independent clause we have because she studied hard. And then the next one we have when the bell rang. You can see that these are independent clauses because they are not making a complete thought. We don't get the complete message here on what they are trying to say. But these can be completed when we combine them with the main or independent clause. Now, let's look at the types of dependent clauses. The first one is a noun clause. Noun clause functions as a noun, and when it functions as a noun, it can take the position of a subject. It can act like a subject, it can act like an object, it can also act like a complement. So that is what a noun clause does. That's the role it plays. Usually, a noun clause begins with that, whether, if, who, what, when, where, how, why. So a noun clause begins with these head words. That's one of the ways you can identify a noun clause. Now, let's look at some examples in words. What he said shocked everyone. The noun clause here is what he said. And in this sentence, the noun clause is standing as a subject, taking the subject position. The next is I don't know where she lives. So where she lives is the noun clause taking the position of the object. And the last example there says, my belief is that honesty pays. Here in this sentence, that honesty pays is a noun clause that is complementing the noun belief. So let's move over to the next type of clause, which is the adjective clause. Adjective clause functions as an adjective, and when it functions as adjective, it does that by modifying a noun or a pronoun, just like an adjective modifies a noun or pronoun. That's the same thing an adjective clause does. It modifies a noun or a pronoun, and it's usually introduced or it usually begins with words such as who, whom, whose, which, that, or relative adverbs such as where, when, why. Let's look at these in examples. The girl who won the prize is my sister. So, who won the prize is the adjective clause modifying the noun the girl. Next example says, I know the place where he was born. Where he was born is the adjective clause modifying the noun place. And finally, the book that you gave me is interesting. So that you gave me is the adjective clause modifying the noun the book. Then we move on to the last type of dependent clause, which is the adverb clause. The adverb clause functions as an adverb, and you know the function of an adverb. An adverb modifies a verb, an adjective, and another adverb, and that's the same thing that an adverb clause does. So it is usually introduced by subordinating conjunctions such as because, although, if, when, after, before, since, unless, as, and while. Let's look at these in examples. In example sentences. She stayed home because she was sick. She stayed home because she was sick. Here, the adverb clause is doing what? It is modifying the verb stayed. And what kind of verb is this? What kind of adverb is this? It is a adverb of reason because she was sick. So why did she stay home? Because she was sick. So because she was sick is the adverb clause modifying the verb stayed. Okay? The next is if you study hard, you will succeed. So if you study hard is modifying the verb succeed. And what kind of adverb is that? Adverb of condition, meaning you need to do something in order for something to happen. So the only time you will succeed is if you do what? If you study hard. So that's adverb of condition. And the last sentence says, I waited until the bus arrived. So the adverb clause until the bus arrived is modifying the verb waited. So what kind of adverb is that? Adverb of time until the bus arrived. So this brings us to the end of the class. I hope you've learned something amazing today. Of course, I'm sure you did. But just in case you have questions or any part of the explanations where it was not clear enough for you, please feel free to submit your questions and I will respond to them as soon as possible. Thank you all for joining today's class and remember to share and invite others to be part of this. And for those of you that are just joining us today, please, if you're not following this channel, please click on the subscribe button, follow us on our social media and be part of all this good stuff. I hope to see you all in the next class. Bye for now.